Hi, everyone, and welcome to our session. My name is Lauren McGowan, and I'm the Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the UB School of Social Work. Today, we're going to be talking about the MSW tuition rates and funding. So, in addition to actually going over the tuition rates and how to calculate a tuition estimate, I'm going to highlight some common sources of funding and things to consider when you're budgeting for graduate school. So, let's get started. So on this lovely chart, you can see the different tuition rates by program and residency status. The current rates listed here do include fees as well as tuition, and you can view the specific breakdown of tuition and fees on our website as well. So you'll notice here that there is a different rate for in-state versus out-of-state students. And I also want to point out that full-time students are billed per semester, a flat rate, while part-time students are billed per credit hour. So their bill varies depending on how many credits they're taking in each given semester. The good news for our out-of-state students and international students is that we do have a discounted rate for the online program for out-of-state students. And if you want to come to campus for our on-campus program, out-of-state students in the US who are US residents can actually establish New York State residency and get the in-state rate for year 2 of the traditional MSW program. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So I always get asked by students for an overall cost estimate. And while we don't publish the overall costs on our website, since tuition and fees are subject to change every year, I can certainly walk you through how to calculate and estimate yourself for the total program cost over time. So let's do some tuition math here. So if you are a full-time student, if you're looking into one of the full-time programs, you're going to take the rate above either the in-state or the out-of-state rate, depending on where you live, and multiply it by either 4 semesters for the traditional program or by 2.5 semesters for the advanced standing program. For part-time and part-time online students, so if you're looking at either of those tracks, you're going to take the in-state or out-of-state rate above and multiply it by either 60 credits for the traditional program track or by 35 credits for the advanced standing program. So the estimate that you calculate here would include tuition and fees for the whole program. However, it does not include things like books, transportation, food, childcare, or other living expenses. So when you make your budget for school, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you take those other costs of living into account as well. Since, as we all know, even though you're only being billed for tuition and fees, there's a lot of other expenses that go into being a student. So just make sure that you're accounting for that when you're doing your budget for school as well. So now that we know how much school is going to cost, let's talk a little bit about funding options. So I'll break the bad news to you first. So the bad news here is that there is much less grant funding for graduate students than for undergraduates. So you really must be prepared to fund your own graduate study. If you received TAP or Pell as an undergraduate student, that unfortunately is not available to any graduate students. But there are other sources of funding for graduate school, so I'm going to highlight just some of the most commonly found sources that our students use. So first and foremost, we do consider all of our applicants for our Dean's Admissions Awards. So funding here is limited, and the only way to try to get some of this funding is just to submit the strongest application you can, and to submit your application early because once we run out of funding, then we don't have any more to give out. So applying early, this is another reason to apply early is to try to qualify for some of this Dean's Admissions Award money. And we consider all of our students for this. There is no separate application. Just by applying to the program, we will automatically consider you for this scholarship funding. We also have some specific funding to help cover up to 20% of the non-resident, which would be that out-of-state tuition rate for out-of-state students who want to come to our on-campus programs. And that's to make it a little bit more affordable for those out-of-state or international students who want to come to campus for our full-time program. Usually, we want to try to give them a little bit of funding to make it a little more affordable for them since they're paying more than the New York State rate. And most non-resident students in our on-campus programs are granted this, again, just by applying to the program. So there's no separate application for this. All you have to do is just apply with the regular program application, and we'll know that you're an out-of-state student. And then for any of you that are graduates of EOP or HEOP programs from your undergrad degree, we do have what's called a Graduate Opportunity Program, or GOP, here at UB. And this is for students that are graduates of EOP and HEOP programs in New York State. And there is a separate application for this one. So if this applies to you, make sure that you visit the UB Office of Fellowships and Scholarships website, because that's where you will be able to find the GOP application and more information about that process. It is competitive. You do have to be admitted as a full-time student in order to qualify for the GOP program. So again, if you're an HEOP or EOP grad, definitely check that out. And then we do have many veterans who have used their educational benefits for our program. So if that applies to you, you may want to contact our Veteran Affairs office for details about using your educational benefits there. And we do have some students that do find and apply for external scholarships as well. So it may be worth looking for scholarships from places like professional organizations or other professional or community organizations that you belong to or a family member of yours belongs to, especially if there's a specific population or issue you're really passionate about or that you want to work in after graduation. There are tons of scholarships out there. It really just takes effort to find and search for them and apply for them. But we do have students that find external scholarship money to put towards their graduate degrees. And then some of our part-time students who are working while attending school get tuition benefits from their employer. So if you are planning on continuing to work and going to school part-time, make sure you're asking your employer or your HR rep if you get any sort of tuition reimbursement or tuition funding through your employer benefits, because some students are lucky enough to get something there too. And I know nobody likes loans, but loans do still count as financial aid, and they are available to graduate students taking at least 6 or more credits a semester, which for our students would be all of our students, since our part-time program is a 6 credit a semester program, and then full-time obviously is more than that. So you can qualify for these loans via the same FAFSA application that you filled out for your undergraduate degree. So it's that free application for federal student aid, that FAFSA, same website, same application, but you can get loans for graduate school. And then we are also an OSAP approved school for our Canadian students as well. So I wanted to mention that as well. I want to point out that I purposefully did not include graduate assistantships on this list. And there is a good reason for that. So, because even though full-time students can qualify for graduate assistantships, they really must find them on their own. And there are very few departments on campus that have GA positions that fit into the full-time MSW class and field schedule. So while you are certainly free to look for one if you're going to be in the full-time program, I always tell students, don't count on having a graduate assistantship to pay for your degree. Full-time students who work are usually doing so at an off-campus job for less than 20 hours a week. It just isn't possible to work full-time and successfully complete the full-time program. So I'm always real with students about that factor. So the bottom line here is that you really need to be thinking about funding before you need it. That's the best time to figure out how you're going to pay for things. Worst case scenario, you may need to work for a few years and save up before returning to school. I know some students will do that. And if you're someone that really doesn't want to take out loans, it may take some additional planning to figure out how you're going to fund your education. I know some other students consider doing the part-time program so that they can still work and make money and then fund part of their education as they go along, instead of full-time where you really can't work as much while you go through the program. So those are all factors to be considering now. Um, this is the end kind of our official talk. So hopefully it got you thinking a little bit about costs and funding. But certainly if you have any other questions, as always, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk with you in more detail. Thanks and have a great day.